Welcome to The Explainer. Have you ever looked around and just wondered what actually holds a civilization together? Or on the flip side, what makes it completely fall apart? Well, today we're diving into a truly fascinating architectural blueprint laid out by the philosopher and thinker Abu Yarab al-Marzuki. We're going to explore what he calls the equations of existence and survival. It's essentially a master framework detailing exactly how human societies are built, how they manage to endure, and the hidden underlying mechanics that cause their downfall.
Here is our blueprint for today. We'll be looking at 1. The conditions of existence. 2. Material versus spiritual. 3. Trust and work ethic. 4. The shield of justice. 5. Space and time. And 6. Quranic epistemology.
All right, starting right at the absolute ground floor with Section 1, the conditions of existence and human brotherhood. So before a civilization can go off and build soaring skyscrapers or develop super complex economies, it needs a rock-solid foundation. And in al-Marzuki's framework, that foundation isn't about geography, and it's definitely not about wealth. It's actually something far more basic. The absolute baseline for any complex society is shared human brotherhood and existential equality. Drawing directly from Quranic principles, specifically referencing chapters on Nisa and Al-Hujurat, al-Marzuki argues that humanity all comes from a single soul, meaning everyone has equal existential status. It's pretty simple. Before any valid system of trade, law, or even communication can form, we have to recognize that we are fundamentally equal. If a civilization completely misses this on day one, the whole blueprint is compromised right out of the gate. Moving up a level, we hit Section 2. The duality of material extraction versus spiritual ethics. Once that foundation of equality is poured, humanity is immediately faced with a dual challenge. Basically, our existence gets split into two distinct realms. On one side, you've got man and nature. This is our organic, material survival. It's how we extract resources, how we farm, how we build stuff. But on the other side, you have man and man. This is the spiritual, transcendent realm, and it's all about ethics, truth, and justice. Now here's the absolute crucial point al-Marzuki makes. The spiritual realm must always dictate the material realm. Your ethics have to govern how you trade and how you produce. Because if you just relentlessly extract from nature without any ethical regard for how you treat your fellow man, the whole system becomes exploitative, and ultimately it destroys itself.
Which leads us straight into Section 3, the mechanics of trust, focusing on work ethic and societal cohesion. Let's actually bring this down to earth for a second. What happens when these high-level spiritual ethics are applied to everyday regular jobs? I mean, whether you're a farmer growing crops, a factory worker, or even a programmer writing code, your daily work is exactly where the material and the spiritual collide. And this brings us to a huge question. Why do civilizations fall into backwardness? It's so easy to blame external enemies or some massive natural disaster, but the source material tells us we need to look inward, right at the everyday fragility of our own societal blueprint. Al-Marzuki offers a really stark answer to this. Just look at this quote. "The loss is master in a group through lying and fraud." It's powerful, right? Basically, when individuals stop caring about the quality of their work, when they start cutting corners, faking data, or making shoddy goods, civilization literally crumbles from the inside. A lack of perfection in our daily tasks isn't just a minor economic hiccup. According to this framework, it is a deep moral failure that unravels the entire fabric of society. It's essentially a mechanical cause and effect loop. Think of it like this. If a society's work ethic is consistently high quality, it generates incredibly strong trust. And that leads directly to peace and survival. People can actually rely on the goods they buy and the information they read. But on the flip side, when work is just full of fraud and lies, it absolutely shatters that trust, fueling societal collapse and conflict. You don't trust the food, you don't trust the news, you don't trust the services. A single person's honesty is, quite literally, mechanically linked to the survival of the entire community. Let's look at Section 4 now, the shield of justice, rule of law and legislation.
So we're moving up the architectural blueprint, and now we need a roof to protect all that trust we've just built. That roof is the justice system. Because, let's face it, human beings aren't perfect, so trust is inevitably going to be broken at some point. How a civilization handles that breach of trust dictates whether it lives or dies. According to the source, without a clean legal system, society rapidly reverts to primitive vengeance. The strong just devour the weak, and you get this toxic master and slave dynamic. But sound laws and clean judges, they act as the ultimate equalizer. When the law treats absolutely everyone equally, it neutralizes the advantage of wealth or physical power. And it restores that foundational baseline of human equality we talked about right at the beginning.
Al-Marzuki visualizes this Islamic legislative framework beautifully as a progressive shield. Right at the heart, you have the Quranic text. Flowing outward from that is the Sunnah, which is the prophetic understanding and wisdom of that text. And then, surrounding all of that, is the consensus of the Ummah, or the broader community agreement. The author doesn't just see this as a dry list of rules, he presents it as a living, breathing mechanism that is specifically designed to reconcile hearts, stop tyranny in its tracks, and maintain absolute fairness in human interactions.
All right, on to Section 5. We are zooming out to look at space, time, and civilization. We've spent time looking at the individual worker and the courtroom, but now we really need to zoom way out, from the societal level straight to the cosmic level, to see how human civilization interacts with the universe itself. To do this, Al-Marzuki brings in the concepts of the legendary historian Ibn Khaldun. He explains that humanity must master two core dimensions if it wants to truly endure: space and time. Space is where our material and organic survival happens. It's the physical realm where we trade and exchange goods. Time, on the other hand, determines our spiritual survival. It is through time that we communicate, gather, share our history, and pass down ethics. To keep a civilization going, you can't just conquer physical space, you have to cultivate spiritual endurance through time. Finally, Section 6, Quranic epistemology and the limits of human knowledge.
This is where we get to our final and honestly most philosophical section. Epistemology is a big word, but it basically just asks, how do we actually know what is true? If we are trying to build an entire civilization on truth and trust, we have to understand the limits of our own minds. Here, the author directs a really fascinating critique towards certain modernist and Orientalist thinkers. He specifically calls out figures like Taha Hussein. Al-Marzuki argues that these thinkers mistakenly apply Cartesian doubt, the idea of doubting everything until you find a fundamental truth, without truly grasping the limits of human understanding. He suggests they claim absolute 100% unwavering certainty in secular science, while basically just waving away religious faith as ungrounded.
Interestingly, Al-Marzuki argues that secular science actually requires foundational faith in its starting assumptions, exactly the same way religion does. He points out 5 shared axioms to prove this. First, both require a belief that truth actually exists. Second, both have to assume that existence is somewhat knowable. Third, both need humans to trust that their own perception is somewhat accurate. Fourth, both absolutely must accept the impossibility of possessing total, absolute, godlike knowledge. And fifth, both rely heavily on foundational beliefs that just cannot be definitively proven. By showing us this, the author is really trying to level a playing field between science and faith. And that brings us to a crucial and dangerous concept: hubris, or in Arabic, hub al-ta'alluq, the love of playing God. This is the ultimate threat to the blueprint we've been looking at. When humans falsely claim that they possess absolute flawless knowledge in science, or absolute unquestionable authority in politics, they completely reverse the creator-creature dynamic. It's a massive problem because this kind of arrogance destroys that day one foundation of equality. It corrupts the shield of justice, and it fractures the trust you need just to survive. Hubris is essentially a wrecking ball taken straight to human civilization. Which leaves us with this final provocative thought for today. If absolute human knowledge is really just an illusion, how does recognizing our own limits actually guarantee our civilization's survival? Think about it. Perhaps it's intellectual humility. Just admitting we don't know everything and actually treating our fellow humans as true equals might be the ultimate secret to human endurance. I'd love for you to think about how you might apply that kind of humility to your own work and interactions today. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep questioning, keep learning, and I'll catch you next time.